Hey there, welcome back to Story Slices, where we slice through the best Reddit tales just for you. Let's dive right into the first story. This one is an entitled People Pro Revenge story. My family has owned a small farm just outside the city limits for as long as I can remember. It's been passed down from generation to generation, ever since my great-great-grandfather settled here over 100 years ago. This little plot of land means the world to me. It's where I grew up, where my dad taught me how to work the fields, tend the animals, and appreciate the simple beauties of country living. The memories made on this farm are invaluable. A few years back, some folks got together and formed a homeowners association for our rural community. I didn't think much of it at the time. The homeowner association seemed mostly focused on tidying up the cul-de-sac neighborhoods closer to town. As a farm, we were kind of off doing our own thing out here. I never signed any homeowner association agreement or got involved with the group in any way. That all changed early one morning as I was feeding the chickens. A car came flying up our long dirt driveway, trailing a cloud of dust behind it. I didn't recognize the vehicle. Before I could react, a man and woman dressed in business clothes hopped out and marched towards me. The man extended his hand. "Good morning. I'm Gary, president of the Oak Tree Homeowner Association," he introduced himself briskly. "This is our vice president, Helen." I hesitantly shook his hand. "Nice to meet you both. I'm James. Can I help you with something?" "Yes, you certainly can," Gary replied. "We're here to discuss some violations on your property." I was taken aback. Violations? There must be some mistake. I'm not part of any homeowner association. Helen shook her head. "On the contrary, your farm falls within the boundaries of the Oak Tree Homeowner Association. You have several egregious violations that require immediate correction." Now I was really confused. "I'm sorry, but I've never agreed to join your homeowner association, and I'm not aware of any violations either." Gary sighed impatiently. "Let me make this crystal clear. Your farm is part of our homeowner association community, whether you joined officially or not. You are required to pay dues and correct any violations. Failure to comply could result in heavy fines or even forfeiture of your property." My eyes nearly bugged out of my head. Who did this guy think he was, strolling in here and claiming my family's land belonged to his homeowner association? "Now see here," I argued. "This farm has been in my family for generations. My great-great-grandfather founded this place. I have a right to live how I choose without answering to any homeowner association." "I'm afraid grandfathered parcels were dissolved once the homeowner association was established," said Helen matter-of-factly. At this point, I was fuming, but I tried to keep my cool. "Can you at least tell me what violations I'm being accused of? I'm sure we can sort this out reasonably." "For starters, your fence line is in complete disrepair, and your driveway exceeds length limits," Gary rattled off. "But there are several other issues we can discuss back at the office. For now, just know that any resistance to compliance will have consequences." With that vague warning hanging in the air, Gary and Helen marched back to their car. As they drove off, my hands were shaking. I felt an overwhelming urge to grab my shotgun and pepper their tailpipe with buckshot. But I restrained myself. Barely. Once I had a chance to gather my wits, I called my buddy Ron, who worked as a real estate attorney in town. He informed me that some homeowner associations will attempt predatory annexation to absorb properties, regardless of whether existing owners consented. However, unincorporated parcels like mine had certain protections. Armed with this knowledge, I got to work building my case. I collected property records, family photos, and sworn statements testifying to our legacy on this farm. When Gary and Helen returned a week later, I was ready. "Here is documented proof that my family settled this land long before any homeowner association existed," I calmly informed them. "Therefore, you have no authority over how I manage my private property. I suggest you refrain from any further harassment." Gary glanced through my materials, his expression souring. He knew I had him beat. "Very well," he huffed. "But don't expect any exceptions from homeowner association rules should you decide to develop this parcel further." They stomped back to their car empty-handed. I may have let a choice curse word slip as they drove away. In the following weeks, notices from the homeowner association kept arriving in my mailbox. They seemed determined to seize control of my farm by any means necessary. Each bogus violation and fee was met with fierce resistance on my end. Things finally came to a head when I received a letter stating that my property had been annexed by the homeowner association, and I now owed nearly $5,000 in assessments and fines. The letter vaguely threatened foreclosure if I did not pay up. This time, I didn't hesitate to call Ron. He helped me draft an official cease and desist letter informing the homeowner association that their claim was fraudulent and any attempt to take my land would be met with a lawsuit. I included several clear references to pertinent laws which prohibited their annexation of my property. For a few tense days, I anxiously awaited the homeowner association's response. To my relief, they finally backed down. Their lawyer sent a letter affirming that my farm lay outside their jurisdiction so long as it remained unincorporated. It was a huge victory, but the fight had taken its toll. After consulting with Ron, I decided to take preventative action by having my land formally designated as a historic farmstead. This special status provided legal protections from any future encroachment by the homeowner association. Once the lengthy process concluded, I felt I could finally breathe easy. Looking back, the whole ordeal still angers me. If I had rolled over and let the homeowner association intimidate me, my family's legacy could have been destroyed. But I'm grateful I knew my rights well enough to fight back. This farm means everything to me, and I'll be damned if I let some bureaucratic homeowner association try to take it away. As long as I'm still breathing, this land will remain exactly as it's meant to be. A loving homestead, not some cookie-cutter subdivision. If you enjoyed the story, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. The next one is Pro-Revenge Story. My name is Amy Wilson, 25F, and when I was just 3 years old, my grandparents passed away unexpectedly. They had set up a savings account in my name that I was to access when I turned 21. Inside that account was a little over $300,000 that my grandparents had saved up for me over the years. They left me a heartfelt letter explaining their wishes. They hoped I would share the money fairly with any other full biological siblings I may have in the future. My dad is Steve Wilson and my mom is Sarah Jones, so any other children they had together would be considered Wilson-Jones kids in my grandparents' eyes. At the time, I didn't have any full siblings. However, I did have 2 older half-brothers, Ryan Smith, 27, and Alex Smith, 25. They were my dad's kids from his first marriage. Even though my grandparents' letter didn't specifically mention my half-brothers, I still felt that the fair thing to do would be to split the money 3 ways since we were all siblings. I decided when the youngest, Alex, turned 21 and could access his share, the 3 of us would split whatever was left in the account equally. When I turned 21, my dad suggested I use some of the money as a down payment on a house. I found my dream home for $130,000, but couldn't get approved for a mortgage. My dad convinced me to borrow $30,000 from the savings account temporarily to cover the difference, which I agreed to do. I planned to pay back the $30,000 before my brothers turned 21, so there would be no issue. Recently, Alex turned 21, and I gave him his $100,000 share. But when he looked at the accounting for the savings account, he noticed there was less money than there should be due to my earlier $30,000 withdrawal. When I explained the situation and my plan to repay the money with interest, the brothers were livid. They accused me of stealing from them and demanded I pay them back the full $30,000, plus an additional $3,000 interest within 6 months. I tried to compromise for a 2-year repayment plan, but the brothers insisted on 6 months. When I refused to sign their written contract to that effect, they threatened legal action to sue me for the full amount in the account. At that point, I decided enough was enough. I reminded them that legally they had no right to the money in the first place. I considered the $50,000 I'd already given Alex to be more than fair, and told them they wouldn't be getting another dime from me. After I blocked their numbers, the brothers took to social media to blast me for trying to cheat them out of their inheritance. Family members started harassing me nonstop about repaying them. But then I got a message on Facebook from a guy named Chris Wilson, 27, claiming to be my half-brother from an affair my dad had. Chris said he had a savings account with $150,000 in it from my grandparents for any of my dad's illegitimate children. He also told me we had an 18-year-old half-sister I didn't know about. I immediately consulted a lawyer who confirmed the brothers had no legal right to Chris's money in the illegitimate children fund. I sent the brothers a cease and desist letter demanding they stop harassing me online and in person. Of course, they were furious when they found out about Chris and the money they couldn't access, but I was done dealing with their nonsense. Chris and I have formed a close bond over our shared family history, and I look forward to getting to know my new sister when she turns 21 and can access her account. As for my brothers, they finally realized I wouldn't give in to their demands. And their fighting over Alex refusing to share his money with Ryan caused major drama in their family. But that's not my problem anymore. I'm focusing my energy on developing relationships with my newfound siblings, and I couldn't be happier to have them in my life. The next one is Am I the A-hole story. My name is Jessica, and I'm 37 years old, single with no kids. I recently moved into a nice suburban neighborhood on the outskirts of the city to be closer to Sarah and her family. She's got a husband, Steve, and 2 kids, a boy and girl about 8 and 10 years old. Sarah and Steve bought a big house here a few years back in one of those cookie-cutter developments with huge winding streets and cul-de-sacs everywhere. I found a cute little ranch home just a few blocks away that was perfect for me and my 2 dogs, Buster and Bailey. The neighborhood is really quiet, full of families with young kids. There's also lots of parks and trails, which is great for taking the pups on long walks. The people seem nice enough, always waving and saying hello, but I don't really fit in since I'm not married with babies. That's fine by me. I like my privacy. Anyway, about a week ago on a Thursday evening around 9 p.m., I was sitting on the couch catching up on my favorite TV shows. The dogs were snoozing on their beds nearby. All of a sudden, they jumped up and started barking like madmen at the front door. Then the doorbell rang over and over and someone started banging on the door aggressively. I was home alone and not expecting anyone that late. I looked at the video on my Ring doorbell camera and saw a man I didn't recognize just pounding away at my door. He was tall with dark hair, wearing jeans and a hoodie. I had no idea who he was or what he wanted. The dogs were going berserk, which made me nervous. After a few minutes of this insanity, I decided to call the police just to be safe. The man finally stopped knocking and left after about 10 minutes total. The cops showed up a little while later and I showed them the Ring footage. They recognized the guy but wouldn't tell me who he was. Said not to worry about it and that they'd take care of it, then left. The next morning I got an angry call from Sarah. Turns out the man at my door was Dave, some local neighborhood watch guy and teacher at the kids' elementary school. Apparently he had seen me driving down the street earlier that day and thought I was going too fast. He took it upon himself to come banging on my door late at night to confront me about it. I was shocked for several reasons. First, there's no way to even drive fast on our winding streets full of stop signs and speed bumps. The cops patrol constantly too. Second, who does that? Just shows up unannounced pounding on a door at night to yell at someone over a minor issue, especially to a woman living alone. It freaked me out. But Sarah was livid at me for calling the police on one of the pillar members of the community. According to her, the whole thing was my fault, and I totally overreacted by getting the cops involved. Dave was just being a concerned neighbor, and I should have opened the door to politely chat with him about his concerns. She went on a whole tirade about how I don't live in the hood anymore, so I should relax and not call the cops at the drop of a hat, that I embarrassed Dave and made him look bad, and now the whole thing was gossip at the latest PTA meeting that she had to defend. She also brought up how I walk the dogs in my sports bra, saying it's inappropriate and gives the neighborhood a bad impression of me. Like, what does my wardrobe have to do with any of this? Anyway, she demanded that I apologize to Dave and tell him I feel awful for calling the cops when he was just looking out for the community. She wants me to take full blame, say I was speeding and won't do it again. Oh, and I better play nice with everyone if I don't want to be shunned. I refused, though. Dave's behavior was inappropriate and I stand by defending my right to feel safe in my own home. But now Sarah is giving me the silent treatment, and I just know this whole debacle is going to cause problems with my standing in the community. Part of me wonders if I overreacted. I'm too stubborn to apologize to Dave, but maybe I should have handled it differently. So, tell me, Internet, am I the a-hole here? Should I have just opened the door and politely engaged with the angry man pounding on my door late at night? Or was I right to call the police? And what should I do now? Apologize or stand my ground? Comments for the story. Comment 1, not the a-hole. Dave's behavior was completely out of line. Neighborhood watch or not, you don't just show up banging on someone's door late at night without warning. As a woman living alone, you had every right to feel unsafe in that situation and call the police. Your sister needs to get off her high horse and realize that Dave brought this on himself by harassing you. Don't apologize or back down. Dave owes you an apology if anything. Comment 2, you are the a-hole. While Dave shouldn't have come over so late, pounding on your door, you definitely overreacted by calling the police right away. A simple conversation between neighbors could have resolved this minor issue without getting law enforcement involved and making a big dramatic scene. Apologize to Dave and your sister, and be more understanding if neighbors approach you with concerns in the future. Comment 3. Everyone sucks here. Dave shouldn't have come to your home so aggressively late at night, but calling the cops immediately without trying to engage him first was an overreaction. Your sister also sucks for dismissing your concerns just because Dave is part of the community. You both need to see the other's perspective. Dave should apologize for scaring you, and you should apologize for escalating things so quickly over what was likely a well-intentioned concern. Next time, try talking first before calling in authorities. Update. I wanted to provide an update on my situation with my sister Sarah and the neighborhood watch guy Dave, since so many of you commented and offered advice. After thinking things over, I decided I wasn't going to apologize to Dave. His behavior was inappropriate, and I stand by my reaction to call the police when an unidentified man bangs on my door late at night. However, my sister was right that I should try to smooth things over to avoid unnecessary conflict. So I went over to Dave's house during the day and had a civil conversation with him. I explained I was a single woman living alone, so his aggressive door pounding frightened me in the moment. Dave was very apologetic. He said he should have considered the late hour and just left a note for me to call him about the supposed speeding issue, instead of trying to confront me directly that night. He agreed his behavior was out of line and promised to be more considerate of other residents' perspectives in addressing issues in the future. To help make amends, Dave offered to host a neighborhood block party at his house this weekend. He said I should come so people can get to know me better and see I'm a reasonable person. Sarah convinced me it was a good idea, so I agreed to go. The party actually went really well. My neighbors were very friendly once we all talked in person. Several people even apologized for wrongly judging me based on rumors. Dave announced to everyone that the whole situation was his fault and he never should have pounded on my door so aggressively that night. After the party, my sister Sarah admitted she was too hard on me. As a longtime resident, she just felt obligated to defend people like Dave when newcomers like me rock the boat. But she agrees I'm entitled to feel safe in my own home, regardless of who's at the door. We hashed out our differences and are on good terms again. So in the end, things worked out through open communication and a willingness to see the other person's perspective. Dave and I are cordial, and my relationship with Sarah and the neighborhood has never been better. Thanks to everyone who weighed in on my situation. Your insights helped me find a resolution. Are you hungry for more slices of stories? Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell to never miss out on any videos. See you tomorrow at Story Slices.